Hello, my name is Michael Thielen, and this is Derek Lemke, and we are part of AHA Corporation. Looking back on the past 10 years, we've had a lot of success. We've learned a ton, and throughout this presentation, we're just going to kind of tell you our experiences and tell you our strengths and weaknesses and where we're going from here. First of all, AHA is a different company than the rest of the companies in our markets because we did not focus on production of bikes. Our very first goal was to purchase a company that was what we thought was undervalued, and throughout time we were hoping to see profits and gains from that. And so that's exactly what we did, and through this we saw very steady income because, like I said, we did not focus on production. There was not as much of a up and down cycle as a lot of companies experience with manufacturing and production. Our income came from dividends, and so we had a lot of control over what was coming into us. We also, because of this, we saw very constant growth. We were very lucky in the company that we owned, Turquoise. They did an incredible job, and because of this, we saw very constant growth as well as very constant income. And this is what really set us apart from the rest of our competitors. Because we are not limited to just bike manufacturing, for the future, we have no limits. We can go into whatever markets we see fit. Really, our only goal is to find companies that we believe are undervalued, as we did previously. Because of our constant growth and our steady income, the future looks very bright for us. And throughout our 10 years, we were able to give a lot of dividends, and this is something that we believe is very important in our company, and throughout into the future, we will hold true to this. Kind of a summary of our last 10 years to the current. We started in 2018 by purchasing Team Turquoise, and as we will kind of talk about later, this was basically our best move, and because of this we were able to see very exceptional growth and profits from this, and this is something that we had, like I said, it was our main goal, but we were kind of going into it needing to figure a lot of things out. And that's exactly what we did. We had, just like any other situation where one company is buying another, we had some difficulties with communication, but throughout the whole process, we were really able to build a great relationship with our subsidiary, and basically, as you can see, it benefited both of us very well. The very next year, we paid off all of our debt with the equity that we had and what we got from Team Turquoise, and I'll go into this in just a few minutes, but this actually was our biggest surprise and mistake throughout our whole 10 years. Looking back, we had some other things that we could have done, and actually it wasn't the worst thing we could have done. We still did see a lot of profit. This did not hurt us, but we could have went a different route to do even better. And then in 2024, we started reaching out and trying to continue our path of buying more companies. And through a couple different reasons, this didn't work out. But because of this, we started going into this year, we made it a focus that we were going to really reduce our production and focus on being more of a conglomerate that oversees other companies. And this, like I said, was our plan from the very get-go, and so this was it kind of coming into fruition. In that year, we figured out, because we took out some debt in order to buy another company that, like I said, eventually didn't happen. We took out debt, and we realized that there was another strategy in the finance world that we could have done to really benefit us more throughout the 10 years, and that is to focus more on a debt-fueled way strategy instead of what we were doing, which was equity-fueled. And that was basically, we were repurchasing shares in our company, but we realized if you make sure that your dividends you're getting in are lower than your interest on your debt, it actually benefits you substantially more. And so that was something that we learned. That's something that kind of happens for new companies and just testing the best way to do things. That was our biggest surprise, I would say, and our biggest change that we made throughout the challenge. And so now I just want to talk about our financial position up to date. Our shareholder value is $248.35. Derek will talk about this a little later, but our cash balance is over $14 million, and our net income is just a hair under $18 million. And now I'll hand it off to Derek to go over our financial statements.
Okay, so moving forward, looking at our financial statements, if we take a quick look at our income statement, the main takeaway here is that we did not have to pay income taxes, and this gave our company a lot more profit to play with and stuff like that. And our gross margin was decent at just like 2.5 million, but production wasn't one of our big focuses. Our main focus was to invest in other companies and then have money coming in from other companies. And as you can see with our dividends from other companies we own, it was pretty high at 36 million. So though our gross margin was a little bit lower, we were still receiving good income. And taking a look at the balance sheet, the main point from the balance sheet is that we had too much cash in the bank because underestimations on our interest payments. And as you can see, we did generate a lot of equity from other teams, and that was kind of a main focus from us, for our team, was to just bring in equity from other areas, not so much from production. And moving on to the cash flow, our interest on cash in the bank was not where it needed to be due to underestimations of our interest on debt, and that kind of led us to having too much money in the bank. And also our future dividends were higher than the rest of the cash flows, making our financing cash flows negative. And then this is kind of more of our self-reflection on how we thought we did throughout the simulation. And one thing that we thought we did well and that we executed well was our goal was to buy a company that we thought was going to do well right away in the beginning, which is why we invested in Team Turquoise so early. One thing that didn't go as well as we planned was to continue to invest in these companies. And then one thing that really surprised us was that a debt-based operation instead of an equity-based operation definitely helped us. And then one thing that we would change is we would probably get rid of our bike production earlier and focus more on just investing in other companies and bringing in different sources of income to our company. And then the best thing that we did throughout our simulation was invest in Team Turquoise right away. And moving forward, what we would do is we would just look for more investment opportunities, maybe explore new markets, and continue to look for those undervalued companies as well. And how we would do that is just continue to reinvest our income. Our debt to return on investment is fairly good, so as long as we can continue bringing money in, we're just going to continue to reinvest that. And why we would do that is just because dividends are just steady income, and there's smaller fluctuations in forecasting. And finally, the most important lesson we learned throughout the whole simulation was that important to have a clear strategy and to know where a majority of your income is coming from so you can continue to make all that income. And that is Team Aha.
And we'd like to bring down the rest of our team and open it up for questions now. Yeah.
So I know you described it as being lucky essentially that you, after buying out Team Turquoise, how well they did, the good decisions they made. What was your kind of plan B for if Team Turquoise had not performed as well as you expected and you possibly even had to sell them? What would have been your kind of plan B to ensure that you had enough money coming in with your lower levels of production, bike production?
Well, I think a big part of us buying Team Turquoise is we did a lot of, research on them. We knew the people they were, we knew the company they were, we knew that they had had success in the past. This is where kind of the business in the real world simulation deal doesn't really work out because basically we watched them in the practice round. We saw they did really well. We knew that throughout time that they were almost certainly going to have a better shareholder value than what they started with. Even if this maybe would have been only by a penny, we could have sold them at any point and just kind of backed out of the deal, essentially. So that was kind of the game plan or the plan B, I guess you would say.
I'd like to add on to that. This assignment was grade driven, and all of them wanted the highest grade possible, which we did too. And there's 7 companies in here. In our practice rounds, in our individual, there was only 4. So the market share was gonna get scooped up really quickly. So backing out, we had the same similar strategy as Turquoise. And if we both would have gone into those markets, we both would have kind of had to split that market share. So we decided to step back. We would rather see dividends because we wanted to kind of play around with just being an investment company instead of a bike manufacturer. And they came in guns blazing with wanting to be a bike manufacturer, and that's what we wanted, and that's definitely why we took the kind of hands-off approach. We wanted them to just do what they did best, and we didn't want to step on their toes in any way.
So thank you for your clarification.
Mm-hmm.
So no, go ahead.
You were first.
Okay, so you guys said your strategy was to buy undervalued companies, and you guys got really lucky buying Team Turquoise because you had so many years prior of risk-free being able to see how well they were doing. So how do you plan to see a company and believe it's undervalued when you got to have a risk-free trial?
I think an example of that is us looking into Keyword Zella. We had kind of been watching what they were doing throughout real time, and just kind of after talking with them and figuring out kind of what they were about, who they were, we believed that at that point we thought they were undervalued, and that's why we kind of went in that direction. So I guess that would be, those are 2 different cases, situations, and that would be more of a realistic situation, I would say.
And really just, there's so many different investing techniques for your price to earnings ratio. You can look at everything. Obviously, it's not going to be 100% guarantee like you guys. That was really just kind of really awesome because you definitely could have tanked. That's the second year talking to you guys. You guys definitely threw that out there. So there was still some risk, but definitely was not as much risk as the real world.
So my question was going to be, had you guys not bought out Team Turquoise, could you have competed with Team Turquoise?
It would have
Because
been
what was it, $107 that you had?
$65.
There you go, sorry.
Yeah. So that definitely was going to be kind of the true test, and honestly, I think there would have been a lot more money being spent by both companies because They were, I think there was two companies in the racer market that second year, or following the second year. There would have been a third if we would have been in there. And you guys are fighting for market share right now after everyone saw that. And we had a first-hand account in the kids and leisure segment of 4 or 5 companies, I think, in that. So it definitely would have been more kind of blood spilled, for sure.
Yeah, it was definitely a better choice to work together with them to gain market share. 'Cause it was
What made you guys realize that K-Bird Zella was undervalued, and why didn't you realize it sooner? Because our team, when we had a shareholder value of $5.77, recognized that K-Bird Zella was undervalued and was going to be making some big climbs.
I think,
Just one quick thing, I think, the timing of your company situation just wasn't in line with what we were able to do, just as our individual company. The timing of where their shareholder value was just at the time, at the time that it lined up with our company was best for us, so that's kind of why we realized that.
They also had a lot of cash in the bank at the end when we started looking at them, and they didn't. Kind of towards the beginning of the year, all of us didn't, and we didn't catch it. We were focused on trying to go into the kind of low quality segments, where that's kind of what we said. We should have stuck to our strategy. We went with Turquoise and they did really well, but again, both of us had strong personalities at first. Those first couple of years, we were just trying to kind of set up in a relationship with them, and we didn't want to take on another team. So really, we just wanted to see who was going to have more cash in the bank, and when we looked at, and they had $48 million sitting in the bank, compared to everyone else who was not that much, they could issue a lot higher dividends, and that's when we saw that they were undervalued.
well, because I also think that we weren't necessarily looking to invest in another team as early as we should have been, so that's why we didn't kept it as early on.
I'm glad you brought up the debt-fueled versus equity-fueled purchases. You use debt for certain things, you use equity for other things. It's a huge lesson in business, right? When you use your equity to get yourself up and rolling and running, and after that you start to dilute your company and you dilute the power in the company. That's the second problem with it. Whereas with debt, it's much more long-term and it's much more stable, and your investments, when you're buying other companies, should always be on a longer-term horizon. So thank you for pointing that out. I thought that was, and it's also hard to wait a couple of years to find the undervalued company and not sell and just live off the dividends of Turquoise, right? And just say, okay, we're not going to spend any money. We're just going to zero out everything and wait, and then issue more debt again to get into the next company. That takes nerves of steel, and it's not an easy thing to do, because you look at yourself, well, I should be bringing in cash, I should be bringing in money, and it's important to understand if you're going down that buy play, if you're going to be a company that holds multiple companies, that's where you have to put your skill set. That's who you have to hire for. People who understand how that works. You're not looking for people who know how to run plants. You're looking for people who know how to assess other companies. A very different game, and it's a hard choice to make. A quick question for you. I slagged earlier on Team Turquoise for having no cash. They're getting more and more low on the cash. If you guys, have you thought at all or talked at all about just selling them? Because, I mean, they'd be bringing you in a whack load of cash if you did, and then buying somebody else.
That is a possibility, but that's not going to happen. Same with, they're not going to sell smooth operators. And if they did, we would like to see a healthy return from that, because it is a corporation, and they don't have any investors. We control all of their shares. and investing in them, they don't have to worry about how much cash. They just need to worry about having cash to, like they said, take in that market share and produce bikes. And that's what we said, why we cut dividends those last couple of years. They needed to get market share, and we'll definitely let them. We don't need that much cash. We just want to collect, and that's why holding on to cash for a company is not. It did nothing. Holding on to $48 million at year 10, you're collecting, I think, maybe $1 million in interest, and it's doing no benefit to your shareholder
2.5
value.
points, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool, I just thought I'd ask. Looks like they still love you, Team Turquoise. Purple Cobras, you're up. How are we doing for time?
146.
146? Have at it, Purple Cobras. I understand if you absolutely must go to a 2 o'clock class, of course, feel free to leave, but we've got the room after 2 because we've got the afternoon class, and I certainly invite you to stay, see what more we can learn.